Okay, welcome everyone in the chamber, welcome those online. I'd like to acknowledge that our meeting this evening is being held on the traditional lands of the Gunditj Mara, Tapwarung, Tapwa, Jali and Bundik people. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and the elders from other communities who may be here this evening. Please note all council meetings will be audio recorded and may be live streamed to council's social media platform, with the exception of matters identified as confidential items in the agenda. By participating in open council meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and or sensitive information. Other than an official council recording, no video or audio recording of proceedings of council meetings will be allowed without the permission of council. I'd now call on Councillor Calvano to lead the meeting in a prayer.
Almighty God, to this council, wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of the Shire. Thank you.
We have one apology this morning, Councillor Adam Campbell, who's out of the country. Just before we go through normal, I'd just like to acknowledge a Dunkeld resident, Rosalind Greenwood, who was mentioned on the King's Birthday Honours list with the Medal of the Order of Australia. Without running through Rosalind's full CV, she's a founding member of the Dunkeld Riders Festival Committee, over 20 years member of the Dunkeld CFA, former member of Wannon Water Board, and a member of the Friends of the Hamilton Gallery for over 30 years. So on behalf of all councillors and council, pass on our congratulations to Rosalind and her family. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting and the confidential council meeting held on 14 May 2025 be confirmed as a correct record of business transacted. Have a mover, Councillor Calvano, seconder, Councillor Henry. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, there's no declaration of interest. There's no leave of absence. Item 7. Item 8, there's no questions on notice. Item 9, public deputations. We have Andrew Natoli speaking this evening on behalf of Rigby Brothers regarding the proposed Section 96A combined planning permit application and planning scheme amendment for the Coleraine Quarry at 26 Templeton Street, Coleraine. Thank you, Andrew.
Can I pull up the seat? Is that okay? Or
Do you want to see?
is that okay? Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Thank you very much for having me. I'm here to speak on behalf of Ruby Brothers and Co, who are the proponent in relation to this item. As you may all know, the quarry's been in operation for a long time, since the 1800s, and it's been operated by our client since 1969 in Coleraine. Currently employs 7 full-time workers and a number of casual staff, and produces between 30,000 and 40,000 tonnes of hard rock per annum. This application is needed because the work authority, which was granted in 1975, has not been updated in any meaningful ways since this time. The quarry is now close to exhausting its resource within the approved extraction limits. To secure the quarry's future, Ruby Brothers proposes to expand the extraction area to access additional rock resource. The quarry's work plan will also be updated to bring it in line with contemporary standards in the current regulatory framework, which includes new standards for rehabilitation. You may have seen in the documentation there's quite extensive requirements for risk management as well. The rehabilitation plan will be modernised, proposing safer terminal phases to facilitate the post-closure farming use. What is proposed, the work plan variation will give access to an additional 1.2 million tonnes of hard rock, or it's trachyte, which is a basalt type material, extending the quarry's functional life by approximately 30 years. While there is a small extension to the extraction area to the east, most of the additional rock will be accessed by actually deepening the pit and not extending it outwards. Some of the land immediately adjacent to the quarry, which is also owned by our clients, will be incorporated into the operational areas and utilised for processing, stockpiling and other purposes to modernise the extraction operations. This will allow a crushing plant to be eventually located to the pit floor, which will also assist in containing noise and other emissions within the site. All other operational matters, including traffic, frequency of blasting, hours of operation, are not proposed to change. So this is simply about giving access to more rock resource and also regularising the current layout of the site. The nature of this application is that in terms of its planning nature, is that the quarry currently operates on an existing use right. To facilitate the expansion, a planning permit is required to allow the use and development to the surrounding lots, to increase the operational areas, to incorporate existing areas that are being used for stockpiling. These lots are currently zoned low density residential, which, as you might know, doesn't permit extractive industry. Accordingly, so we also need to concurrently amend the planning scheme to rezone this land to farming zone, and to remove the development plan overlay, which is an overlay that calls for residential outcomes, which obviously is not compatible with quarrying. These two applications have been applied for together as a combined planning scheme amendment and planning permit application. This combined application is now before you to decide if authorisation should be sought from the Minister for Planning so that the Council can proceed to formally prepare and exhibit the amendment. The process to date has been extensive in terms of consultation with various agencies. There's a community engagement plan as part of the work plan, which if you read that, you'll see that the process commenced as far back as 2018, when initial site meetings occurred with officers of ERR, which is DECA, Council and DELP, now DECA. This was followed by further site meetings in 2022, virtual meetings during COVID, and the formal referral of the work plan to relevant agencies, including the EPA and the Planning Environment Assessment Unit of DECA, which is the unit that deals with native vegetation. All agencies have now been satisfied that all potential impacts of the environment and amenity can be acceptably managed through the various performance standards and strategies contained in the work plan and the risk management plan. The latter addresses issues such as native flora and fauna, noise, air quality, erosion control, surface water, groundwater control of vermin and weeds. So if this is approved, this application will actually modernise the work plan from what it's currently a 1970s, slimline work plan to up to current standards, which will enable better ongoing best practice environmental management. So the work plan was endorsed by DECA last year in October, and this is the basis of the application before you now. Most of the 900 or so pages you saw is actually just the work plan. So for the reasons that set out in the planning report, the delegate report, we also say that the proposal has considerable planning merit because it'll bring the zoning into line with what's actually there, which is an extractive industry use, and create buffers from the potential for the establishment of sensitive residential uses. So the process going forward, this is the start of a process through which the proposal will be further exhibited, and then given the council have the opportunity to further assess the proposal and make its determination. So I guess the point to make about that is the decision tonight will not predetermine or prejudice council's final determination on the merits of this proposal. This is just about putting it on exhibition. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillors, any questions of Andrew? Councillor Henry.
Thanks, Andrew. I just wanted to understand what's the timeframe of the resource that you have currently?
Well, that all comes down to production rates and how fast it's purchased with all quarries, so I don't have a specific time frame. I imagine it's a matter of years, but even 3 to 5 years is too short for a quarry to be making decisions about investing. It's also about making the rehabilitation sustainable because this site does have a lot of overburden to move it, and to be able to move that material around the site and progressively rehabilitate, you also need an ongoing business to pay for it. So that's a key aspect of this proposal as well.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a great, just very comprehensive report. It's huge. My question is, there has been concurrently a Coleraine structural plan discussion going on, and you've been getting feedback. Has there been any feedback that they want to retain more residential land, or that's been part of the community engagement process?
Look, I've personally been involved in that. I've got instructions to making his submissions about that. I note that I think the officer's report that's before you has looked at that issue, and the assessment is, I think that this is actually supports it, because it'll bring about a more sustainable zoning regime around what is a long-established what's it, an industrial type use,
zone.
and so you don't, typically you don't abut residential land up against the quarry if you can avoid it. You tend to try and buffer it, or quarries will try and establish buffers, ideally to sensitive uses, so there's less potential for land use conflict, and I think the assessment is that this proposal will support that, or those types of strategies in
Thank
the
you very
construction
much.
plan.
All good. Andrew, thank you. The recommendation is the council receive the deputation. Have a mover. Councillor Barber, seconder. Councillor Rainsford. All those in favour? Carried. Andrew, thank you. There was concern when you took a chair that we thought 850 pages of that report were going to be referred to. So thank you.
It wasn't any sign of disrespect, self-conscious.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10, there are no petitions this evening. Item 11, informal meetings of councillors. Informal meeting of councillors record was kept for briefing session 7 May, briefing session 14 May, briefing session 21 May, briefing session 28 May, and that will be recorded in the minutes. Item 12, management reports. 12.1, revenue and rating plan. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Councillors, before you is our revenue and rating plan. The Local Government Act 2020 requires council to prepare a revenue and rating plan to cover the minimum period of 4 years, incorporating various sources of revenue. It also sets out the principles used in decision-making for revenue sources, such as fees and charges. The Council Revenue and Rating Plan 2025-26 to 28-29 is presented for adoption. The plan may be reviewed and updated as required and has been developed concurrently with the 25-26 budget process. The charges are built upon the pricing policy as outlined in the Revenue Rating Plan 25-26 to 28-29. The 4-year plan is required to be adopted each term of council and will run for the term of the current council. Amendments can be made as required throughout that term. The plan sets out the principles of revenue recovery from various services council provides. It outlines the strategic framework that guides how council will calculate and collect revenue. Councillors, we have a recommendation in front of you that reads that council adopt the revenue and rating plan as presented to council for the next 4-year cycle. It should read beginning 2025-26 until 2028-29. There is a small typo in the recommendation. It says 29-30. So we'll just need to alter that as we're adopting it. So it should be 2028 to 2029. Recommendation before you for consideration.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Barber, seconder. Councillor Manning. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Director Barber, just one question in the document. What happens if the anticipated rate cap isn't 2.5 in 26-27 year? And is this factored into the long-term financial plan? What happens if the state doesn't cap at 2.5 but higher? Will the projected long-term financial plan still reflect the surplus?
Thanks for your question, Councillor. Under the Act, we need to adopt a long-term financial plan by October of the year Council is elected. The Act is silent on how often we actually review that plan, so we could actually set that in place for the 4 years. But Council here traditionally has looked at the long-term financial plan every year that we do the budget. And one of the reasons we do that is because of the assumptions like the rate cap we put in it change. So it allows us every year to be able to look at what those assumptions are, and based on what trends are happening at the time, for argument's sake, CPI, we might alter those assumptions up or down based on that data that we have in front of us. So it gives some flexibility along our 10-year financial plan and allows us to refresh it. So the answer is that we would be able to change in line with what those changes would be.
Thank you.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, my question was around the Emergency Services Volunteers Levy. On page 23 of the agenda, it explains a little bit about it, but I believe since then there's been some new information from the state government that drought affected or drought resilience grants applicable to areas will be exempt from an increase above what the existing fire services levy is for 12 months. Can you confirm that, or just provide the most recent up-to-date information concerning the ESV, please?
We have in the chamber today our head of finance and our rates coordinator, so I might refer if they have some other knowledge. My knowledge, councillor, is not much different to what you've just expressed. We know that there are some changes. It's a bit of a moving feast at the moment, and they have put forward that there's going to be some exceptions for agricultural businesses. So outside of that, I don't know that there's anything else, but there will be changes going forward. But I'm getting a shake of head, so it looks like I've hit that pretty much where it is at the moment.
Thank you.
Councillor Ransford.
Yeah, thank you, but so that, and following on from Councillor Manning's question, so that is just actually primary producers, not all those businesses and communities that are affected by a drought, because it's not just the farmland.
Thank you, councillor, for your correction, but that's exactly right what you've stated. Yeah.
Any further questions? Those speaking for, Councillor Henry.
Do you want councillor Barber to start?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Barber is the mover to speak to the motion.
Yep. Thank you through you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to say that it's a comprehensive piece of work, and there's a lot of work that goes into these plans, and I'm learning as we're going as well. I'd just like to acknowledge the work that the finance team do on this, and the understanding of the rate capping. I think is important for our residents to understand that it's a state-initiated thing. It's something we've all got to abide by, and I think it's important moving forward that our residents understand that we're definitely here to advocate for the best of their facilities that we can possibly get, and the rates reflecting what we can certainly supply. And yeah, I definitely think it's fantastic work. Thank you.
Speaking for, Councillor Henry.
Interestingly, this is a motion I didn't think that I would actually be supporting if the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund had gone through. I was actually considering civil disobedience. So I stand here before you with mixed emotions, I guess. But I'd like to point out that council officers and councillors have worked very hard to ensure equity on the rates in what are very difficult times for different members of the community, and especially acknowledging that, and trying to build in some valuing of our farming community. Southern Grampians Shire Council rightly advocated against the implementation of the state's new Fire and Emergency Services Volunteer Fund levy. I think I've got that wrong. And will continue to do so. I commend the councillors, and especially the mayor, that worked really hard to make sure that every LGA in the state took a stance on the issue. The officers and fellow councillors lobbied hard to the Premier and the ministers and supported our community in their advocacy on the subject. And I regret that there's only been a pause, and only a partial pause at that, and I consider this a fight that we will continue. I particularly wanted to remind people that there are significant provisions in place in what is a difficult economic climate, and if you need assistance to pay rates and you need help, please reach out to us. Do not sit alone. Talk to council, talk to the officers. We are here to help you, and we will support you.
Speaking against, Further for, councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, look, I think putting the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund levy aside, I think that our rating and revenue policy, which is capping the rates that are collected from farmland at 60% compared to 40% of the other two categories, we've struck that policy 3 or 4 years ago, and I think it's standing the test of time. We aren't applying for any increase from the rate cap, which I actually support a rate cap because it does give some discipline. It's just a shame that the state government doesn't support the rate cap in their own levies, that they are we need a fair go levy cap, because we've got a fair go rate cap policy. We need a fair go levy cap, and they should be capped at the same amount. The fight's not over, we should be continuing to fight this. But that's, bringing it back to our rating and revenue, I think it's a fair deal, and we are working within that budget. But people are expecting us to be very prudent financially with what we spend their money on, which I'll be talking about later.
Any further for? Councillor Barber, any further to close?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor, just that we adopt the recommendation before us.
Okay, go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.2. Thanks, Andrew. Item 12.2, the final budget 2025-2026. Director Barber.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Councillors, the report tables the adoption of the Council's 2025-26 annual budget, Council's 2025 to 35 long-term financial plan, and Council's 25-26 pricing register. I think it's worth for gallery and people online just to explain what each one of those documents are. So our annual budget is obviously for our 25-26 year, but also extrapolates the next 2 years, so it's 3 years in total. Our long-term financial plan is a 10-year period, so that gives us a good look into the future of our finances. And finally, the pricing register just covers all the prices that we have for our services across council. The draft budget has been prepared under the provision of the Local Government Act, the Local Government Victoria Model Budget, associated regulations, and relevant international and Australian accounting standards. The documents are presented for adoption at this council meeting, thereby complying to the legislative requirement that the annual budget be adopted by the 30th of June each year. The draft 2025-26 budget has been developed within the overall planning framework, which guides council in identifying community needs, aspirations and projects over the medium to long term. The key document for the future direction is the council plan, which informs the long-term financial plan. And council, just a few highlights from the long-term financial plan. We see an operating surplus in 9 of the 10 years of the long-term financial plan, 131 million in investments in renewal of community assets, which ensures assets such as our roads and footpaths fit for purpose. Strong financial stewardship over the 10 years, strong cash balances across the 10 years, peak debt at 16.5 million over the 10-year period. Borrowings will largely be repaid over the 10-year period, and delivery of our 3 major projects, which is the CBD Streetscape, the Community Hub, and the Hamilton Gallery. The 2025-26 operating budget forecasts that the operating surplus will be 3.857 million. This includes 25.103 million of rates and charges, 18.462 million of government grants, 6.873 in fees and charges, 499,000 in statutory fees, 3.965 million in payments from the disposal of property, infrastructure, plant and equipment, and 1.387 million in other revenue. Capital works of 16.255 are proposed for the 25-26, noting that this does not include any prior projects that may be carried forward from this year. These works are being funded by grants of 7.637 million, sale of assets of 3.965 million, and loans of 5 million. Much of the work is the renewal of existing assets, which is 11.2 million. Detailed design work for the upgrade of the library community hub for 1 million, with a further 4.045 million for works on new or replacement assets. The pricing register complements the budget and provides the basis upon which the fees and charges of revenue has been developed. Council has completed significant work in reducing operational costs over the last 4 years. This attack on cost reduction and commitment to efficiency ensures Council is in a strong financial position with a surplus forecast for 9 of the 10 years in the long-term financial plan and allows for the delivery of key major projects. Council has an ongoing commitment to asset renewal, and with an average annual renewal expenditure of 13 million for a 10-year long-term financial plan. In line with the Local Government Act 2020, Council changed the way it engaged with the community in relation to the preparation of the annual budget for the first time in October 2023. Council shifted to a single engagement period to prepare, prior to the preparation of the budget, and begun seeking submissions from the community in November 2024. The earlier community engagement has resulted in significantly higher engagement, with 34 community submissions in 23-24 and 31 in 24-25. Prior to 2023, Council feedback at the prior to 23, Council received an average of 15 responses from the community each year. Gathering community feedback at the beginning of the budget process allows the community submissions to influence the budget outcomes. Council, just finally, as you all know, it's a massive body of work to put together the budget and long-term financial plan every year. I'd just like to acknowledge we've got some stage warriors in the room that have done this many, many times, and their influence has been fantastic. I also want to acknowledge that we've got 4 new councillors in the room, and this was the first time that they've been through the process. It's been done in very good humour, and I know the team's really enjoyed engaging with council to put this together. I also want to just thank Nick Templeton, our Head of Finance, and his team for all the work that they've done over the last few months. It's been terrific, and the support we've had from the executive sitting alongside our managers and all our staff contribution has been terrific. Council, the recommendation is before you for consideration.
Do I have a mover? Councillor Ainsworth.
I'd like to move that items 1 to 8 be put out as the draft documents for community consultation, which includes the long-term financial plan for community feedback, and we still have time to do that and adopt it before the 30th of June.
Is there a seconder? Failure of a second, that's lapsed. Not a mover from the floor. Councillor Henry.
I move that the Council adopts the budget attached to this recommendation in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, the Act and relevant regulations. 2, acknowledge the community's contribution to the budget consultation process and acknowledge the people and organisations who provide written feedback by thanking them in writing individually. 3, declares an amount of 24.897 million which Council intends to raise by general rates and annual service charges for the period of 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of June 2026, calculated as follows. A, general rates 21.996 million, and B, annual service charges 2.910 million. 4, declares the rates and charges are detailed in Council's Revenue and Rating Plan 2021 to 25 as required under section 94(2)(1) of the Act and section 161(2) of the Local Government Act 1989 in line with tables 1 to 4 of this report. 5, grants an early full rate payment discount of 2% on current year's rates and charges if full payment, including any arrears and interest, is received on or before the first instalment due date. 6, notes the budget utilises final valuations from the Valuer General. 7, adopts the 2025-26 pricing register. 8, adopts the 2025 to 2035 long-term financial plan.
Seconder. Councillor Manning. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Calvano.
Just a question, can you confirm how many submissions by the public that we've received, officer? Before we had the go to draft, now we don't go to draft anymore. Can we have the question answered? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question through you, Mr Mayor. As I mentioned before, prior in the old way that the budget used to be presented, where we put it out for draft and then asked for submissions over a couple of weeks at the very end, we were averaging 15 responses. And in some cases we would only get 4 and 5 responses too in a couple of years I look back at. Since we've gone to gathering that community information at the start of the budget, we had 34 last year and 31 this year. So we've had 65 community members put in submissions for important infrastructure and services that they want across the municipality, which has been a terrific result. And we've had really strong feedback from those community members about the process.
Thank you.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah. I've got a few questions, but this one on this topic. What sort of combined value would people have been asking for those submissions? Would it be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions? And the second point is there was a submission for 120,000 from the Glen Thompson pool after an updated community plan that they supported their pool, and that has not been included. So the first one is, what sort of volume of money, rather than feedback, was involved with the submissions to the early request from the community for submissions?
Thanks for your question, Councillor Rainsford, and through you, Mr Mayor. Can I first address the 120,000? The 120,000 is in the current budget and will look to be rolled over at the end of the year as part of rollover, so that's still very much on the table. The number, look, I'm not going to have exact numbers in my head, but traditionally they're for smallish amounts of money that people see are important to their community. And I think that's what's so fantastic about that, is that, you know, whether it's a new barbecue shelter or a new barbecue or a small path that just connects something, you know, a small town together, a lot of times they're not a huge amount of money for us to find, but they have a great improvement on the lifestyle of those communities. So I think that's what's been really positive about the way we've been doing the budget.
Councillor Manning.
Just a follow-up question. Can you explain the process of those carryover budget items and what happens with them after that, after this process?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your question, Councillor Manning, through you, Mr Mayor. The carry forwards, our teams will come forward with the carry forward July traditionally, once the end of the financial period is finished, and then we will review those on whether we think they are worthy of carry forward, and then that will then all come to council for their approval to approve those carry forwards to go into the budget.
Just
Councillor
a
Manning.
quick follow-up question. So can you confirm items including the $120,000 set aside for the Glen Thompson school purchase and the $250-something $1,000 set aside for a public toilet in Glen Thompson would be, in fact, part of those carryover items?
I think, sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, I think the easiest way to, well, I can't sit up here and categorically say to you that will, because it's your decision.
Okay, but that's the process.
The process will be, it will come to you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I don't want to sit here and say yeah or no, because that's not my decision, that's council's.
Yes.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yep, thank you. And so we've established that, and it is a better process, that we get the small stuff in earlier, because we often end up at time. So the question is, how many people put in a submission to demolish the Brown Street building, which occupies, currently has our library, has a cinema, and has a gallery building and some office space. So we had community submissions, But did anybody put in a submission about knocking down a building that could be worth millions of dollars? And why have we got a consultation period up till the 20th of June for a design that is going to encompass removing
Point of
that
order,
building?
Mr Mayor.
So why haven't we got
You
a
need to stop
consultation?
speaking. I've called a point of order.
Councillor Henry.
This is off topic now. We're starting to talk about the art gallery, not the budget.
Councillor Rainsford, just the direct question to Director Barber.
Could Director Barber list the 3 CBD projects that were listed in our long-term financial plan, and this report was just mentioned before? Could we hear those 3 projects again, please?
Thank you, Councillor. So the 3 major projects are our streetscape redesign, the new Hamilton Art Gallery, and the Hamilton Hub, which will incorporate our new library and digital hub.
Can I continue with
Councillor
my
Ansell.
question? So is the point of order called null and void?
If you can direct the question to...
No, point of order, you're actually meant to say the point of order is upheld or dismissed. That's the way it's meant to be. Ask the governance officer.
Do you think that the questions need to cease on that, or do you want the questions?
I'll maybe
Do you
yeah.
agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, so say the
Point of order ceased. Is all right?
So I can carry on? Because part about we're meant to listen to people and follow a code of conduct, and I'll sit down when I'm interrupted, but I'd like to know that points of order are upheld from now on, or not. So I was asking, how many people have made submissions on the demolishing a building that could be worth millions of dollars and not repurposing it? Did anybody ask for that to happen in this budget?
Councillor Rainsford, through you, Mr Mayor, I can't categorically answer whether we've had submissions on that, but what I can say is we've got a council resolution for that to happen.
Yes.
And the council resolution has to be enacted through the budget. That's our job. We can't do anything unless we have a council resolution that says that we can act on that.
That's right.
So council's resolved to do that, and that was part of the budget, and that's the work that's being done.
Councillor Manning.
Can you describe which groups of people from council and community are able to make budget submissions, please?
Thank you, Councillor Manning, and through you, Mr Mayor. Anybody within our community can make a submission, Council.
Councillor Rainsford.
Which meeting did council decide to demolish the Brown Street buildings to make way for a new Hamilton Gallery? The meeting that I was at wanted to put another floor on the gallery, the November 22 meeting. It did not resolve to demolish a building and replace it with a new build. It was to stay put and extend the pace. And I was there and I saw the documents, I saw the plans. So which other meeting have we resolved to demolish an asset of this community? Which meeting?
Yeah, I don't know if the question's relevant to the budget for Director Barber.
No.
Any further questions of Director Barber? Councillor Henry to speak to the motion.
What about, you want to speak forward?
Not yet.
This is one of the strongest local council budgets in the state. And it's an even stronger budget than last year. This year's budget and long-term financial plan include the same major projects as last year, but even more renewal and less debt. We are a shire with arguably one of the lowest debt levels in the state, and we've completed some significant projects already. Our employee costs are $20.6 million. That's everything. That is not just wages. In the 2021 budget, employee costs were at 45.37% of total revenue. This budget, staff costs are at 36.73%, a decrease at a time when most other shires' employee expenses are increasing. If you consider this high, consider what councils do. We are a service-based industry. You need people to lifeguard, fix roads, weigh babies, answer queries, submit grant applications, manage waste, and read to children in libraries. We pay people to serve our community, deliver the 79 services, and maintain our significant assets. Employee costs are budgeted to increase by 0.51% over the 24-25 forecast for this year, and only 1% over last year's budget, an exceptional financial feat. In this year's long-term financial plan, Council is spending more on asset renewal than it ever has. Over the next 10 years, Council is committing 131.14 million in asset renewal, which reflects a much stronger Council focus on responsible financial stewardship. The figure in this year's long-term financial plan is above what is required if you use the industry benchmark for renewal, being 80% of depreciation. The long-term financial plan rests on bold ambition to hold our expenses to strong, ambitious benchmarks. And we will monitor this closely and adjust the long-term financial plan each year depending on contributing factors. As I said, the Southern Grampians Shire has very little debt, but it is unreasonable to think that we can build intergenerational projects without debt. With big dreams must come contribution, fortitude, and some risk. The debt proposed is reasonable. Our projects do rely on philanthropic funding and grants. However, we have never been better placed to find funding that we need to complete these 3 much-needed projects for our Shire that will attract visitors, support learning, and provide pathways, to name just a couple of the benefits. The fact that we are using grant funding to design these projects, not ratepayer funds, further indicates that we are in an excellent position to seek funding from that same body source that funded our designs. Also, when applying for grants, councils need to be able to demonstrate that co-funding from council has been approved. So this has been embedded in the budget and the long-term financial plan. The long-term financial plan clearly shows how debt will be repaid, and this is planned to be done with great discipline. The organisation has a constant program of efficiency reviews. This is designed to and has already found savings and opportunities in each department, which will further strengthen our position.
It's time, Councillor Henry.
May I have more?
Is there a seconder? Councillor Manning.
Our budget and long-term financial plan is weighed up against the Victorian Auditor General Office's ratios to guide financial planning and benchmark. This budget stacks up against those ratios. There is a lot to feel proud about in our long-term financial plan. There is plenty to be aware of and risk factors to monitor closely. But finally, I want to thank the many people that have worked diligently for many months on this budget. The council officers, the community members who submitted and critiqued the budget formally, the Audit and Risk Committee, and the councillors who have discussed and ruminated for long hours to achieve something that I believe is both responsible and visionary.
Can I move an amendment?
Councillor Ransford.
Yep, thank you. Could the council instruct the CEO not to sign off on any civic hub or New Hamilton Gallery design until we've had 400 mils of rain across this Shire by the 1st of November to refill our water supplies and get us out of this drought situation?
Point of order.
Yeah. Is there a seconder? Lapse to fail of a seconder. Speaking for, Councillor Calvano.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'll speak for it. Like all budgets, Mr Mayor, there are winners and losers. It's great to see we have a capital works program. Hope we have the resources to complete the capital works. Such projects as development of Lakes Edge and renewal of pools, safety programs for our Shire. We have a responsibility to renew our assets, such as new books for our library, Mr Mayor, machinery, roads and bridges, etc., etc. Yet not to mention numerous road rehabilitations and channels. Also, Mr Mayor, with the allocation of millions of dollars from philanthropic and federal and long-term financial plan to build a new arts centre and buildings in Lonsdale Street, is something to look forward to. I hope it goes all well, Mr Mayor. I think the community would be more appreciative if we commenced work on Grey Street, fixing our footpaths, etc., 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 instead of prolonging it. But we are making headway with a new motion that was carried by the councillors. However, I'd like to compliment the staff and officers of the budget to let us move forward for a better financial year without any major disruptions. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Speaking against. Councillor Rainsford.
I didn't actually hear that anybody asked for a seconder for my amendment. We just went on to indicate.
I called for a seconder and there wasn't, and I called it as lapsed
Very,
for
very,
failure.
very quick.
Sorry, I was talking.
Yeah.
I did call for a seconder, there wasn't one,
Yeah.
and also said that it had lapsed for failure to receive a
Very
seconder.
quick. Thank you. So I would just like to reiterate that we're all talking about drought. We've just been lobbying the state government to be very sensible with their finances. And I reckon we're doing a really good job with our staff and our budget, and councillors are here for the strategic direction. And I'm a lone voice in actually saying I think the strategic direction I think we've got out of place, and that we should actually be looking at the maximising the benefit that we get from a new build of a gallery by doing it sooner than later. We're not going to have this new gallery until 2032. We're going to put $10 million of ratepayers money into it. We're going to put $9 million of ratepayers money into a civic hub that we have to build and get finance and external finance before we then build the gallery. We have got a site on Lonsdale Street that could be developed, and I think it could be, we haven't had the condition reports of the Brown Street building made public. We haven't had the we're having a design open for public comment until the 20th of June, but we're not having any public comment about the cost. And we're not having anybody have an opportunity to say, and the other thing, I wanted to ask a question and it sort of went on. Can I ask a question after this because it's relevant? So I'm still speaking against, and I'll ask a question because it's running out of time. And I'm really disappointed that not only has Glenn Thompson missed out on $370,000 this year, they have to wait patiently for the $120,000. And they actually had a working group, they had an advisory group that actually upgraded their community plan. And I think it's really important in this time of lack of faith in our institutions that local government, the closest, actually gives opportunity for comment on the big items, not just the little items. And this is our confidence builder, and there's a lack of confidence if we actually have the most expensive and major projects not open for people
Point of
to
order.
have.
Councillor Henry.
It's conjecture. Councillor Rainsford is creating a statement that there is a lack of confidence, and I don't see that as true. It's conjecture. It's not fact.
Do you agree with that? You have to make a decision whether you agree with that.
Yeah, I'll allow Councillor Rainsford to go on that. It was quite broad as far as a lack of trust.
And look, I've been communicating with all of you councillors. You know that I don't feel that we've been doing enough groundwork and actually looking at the options. The $200,000 that is in the budget for a business case, that's going to have to be done to continue with the $5.1 million federal grant funding. Thanks, Member Teagan, for getting help with that. And they want that spent well. The business case, we have the power as council to say, do the business case of time frame, return on investment for the community, economic development sooner than later, and be brave enough and transparent enough to actually do a business case on these two options. This council is not tied to the motion of November the 22nd, done in confidential business out at Nareen with a 3-3 vote with the Mayor with the casting. I was there. It did not say we were knocking down the building. It said we were going up. We had a technical report done, engineer's report that said we could go up, and now we've got an architect's report to say for his design we
Point
can't.
of order.
Yeah, I would agree.
Councillor Henry.
There's an indication and an inference of subterfuge, which I find particularly offensive.
My point of order would be that that's incorrect. The architect has engineering reports from experts. It's not a mere architect. It makes it sound flippant when it is not.
And Councillor Rainsford, prior to the point of order, we had exceeded the time. So
But I've been interrupted a few times. Could I get another minute?
we'd already extended by that. You can ask for an extension. Is there a seconder to
I'd
that?
like to have an extension for
I'm
interruptions.
happy for you to
Thanks.
finish.
And just to go back, I noted the reasons why it wouldn't fit. it wouldn't suit the architect because of the design and because of all of the extra work that needs to be done for humidity control. For technical reasons, it couldn't happen for that design to work.
Councillor Rainsford, I just
So
ask you
that's
just to confine the discussion just to the motion that's on the table,
Well,
please.
Yeah, and for confidence thing, it's about having a discussion, and this is my
Budget.
opportunity to do it on
Budget,
behalf
yeah.
of the people. Thank you.
Further discussion for Councillor Manning.
So my reading of these documents, I think the revenue and rating plan is fair and equitable. I think we have a hardship policy that provides avenues for support for those who need it, and I would encourage anyone who needs it, please call and don't hesitate. I think the budget provides funding for existing services and new projects that will make day-to-day life easier for our community. Highlights for me are fans for the Hylac basketball court, so that people can play in summer more comfortably. I congratulate a community member on their submission to get a fence around the Lake Hamilton Adventure Playground, and I note that this is one fence around one playground that is next to a lake, and this will allow parents and carers to engage with their children more rather than being scared that they will run into a lake or behind many of the hidden walls that you cannot see them. And I would encourage anyone who thinks that it is parental neglect to consider the point of view of those parents and carers. I also think that the path linking the Cavendish CBD to the football oval, where we heard from many locals this year that they'd been asking for it for some 13 years, and that school kids were catching the bus into town and walking unsafely up to the football ground for football and netball training. So I'm happy for that. I'm very happy for the new initiative where residents who live outside of waste collection zones can purchase optional purchase vouchers that will enable them to do weekly, or more will come out about this, and I'm reading it from the thing, but they'll be able to purchase a scanning card for a similar cost to what people who live in residential areas can, who get their waste collected, and that will allow a number of waste bin drop-offs for different recyclings. So people that live on farms, I think, will be very appreciative, and I for one would be. I also really look forward to planning the hub this year. This is going to be a fantastic community place. It's going to have a huge library. We heard from our library manager today, who is doing wonderful things. And it's my belief that building a library, digital hub, and various other things, and I will be advocating for a cinema, in a brand new build is the very best for our community. Not in a 60-year-old build that has significant water leakage issues, and that is my opinion. The long-term financial plan. We're going to borrow a total of $32 million, and our peak debt will be $16 million. This may be living outside of our means for 3 years, between 2027 and 2030. But what are we getting for it? We're getting 3 huge projects.
Councillor Manning.
Generational projects. And if I could just finish on saying, changes to these budgets, we don't just have different versions of the budget sitting in the back room. They take a lot of time and a lot of effort by a lot of people, and you can't just swap them in and out willy-nilly. There's a huge amount of work, and I support this budget, and I think I agree that Councillor Caldano I look forward to doing great things in the next financial year.
Speaking for Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you. I'll just keep this brief after we've all had a good discussion about this. Look, I'd like to speak in favour of the budget for a few reasons. One would be the community engagement, and I'd sort of extend on what Director Barber said about the fact that you've gone from 15 responses in, prior to 2023 to 34 and 31 recently, which I think is fantastic. I'd also encourage anyone in the community to, talk to your councillors and ask if, what's the budget submission about? How do I go about doing it? How can I get a budget submission in? Who can help me? There's people who will help you get your submissions in. And we've seen some fantastic things, and again, Jane agreed with, like, for example, the fans at High Lake, which is a sauna of a building, and some of those who have been in there to watch basketball, it's that's just one example of something that's come through from a community submission. And as far as capital works, we've got building renewal, Dunkeld Preschool, Rotunda and Botanic Gardens, Cavendish Memorial Hall. We've got playground renewal to make sure that we are meeting our compliance and looking after our residents, which I think is hugely important. In the budget, there's just over $7 million of road improvements, which includes resheeting, reseal programs and road safety improvements across the Shire, which is brilliant. And there's also the Penshurst Botanic Gardens Master Plan implementation, which I know as a new councillor has been going for a little while, and they've finally sort of got it over the line, which I think is brilliant. And I'd look, as a new councillor, I'd also like to acknowledge the work, because it's pretty phenomenal, if I must say so, and Nick and the team do a fantastic, a lot of work, and it's a big process. The process has started, way back before, with getting the early community submissions. So it's such a massive body of work to get to this point. I'm sure there's improvements we can all make to it, but let's all work together and make improvements in the upcoming budgets. But on the onset of what we've got in front of us, I think it's a pretty positive direction to where we're heading in the next 10 years. And I'd also like to mention it's a fluid document almost to a point. It's continually in review. The 25-26 budget and the long-term financial plan will always be reviewed. It's not stuck for 10 years and that's it. It's chucked in a cupboard in a time capsule and we can't change it. These documents will continually work with our community, and will work with our community members to get the things that they need in their spaces. And I think you've done a brilliant job, and well done. Thank you.
Councillor Henry, just before I come to you to close the discussion, I'd just like to add that this budget long-term financial plan delivers unprecedented level of funding allocated to asset renewal. And I guess to explain what asset renewal looks like in real words, it's roads, bridges, footpaths, sports facilities, playgrounds, public toilets, and even the drainage network. Provides a clear pathway to deliver on our three major projects. The support for priority submissions put forward by our community, including installation of fans for High Lake multi-purpose courts, footpath constructions in Cavendish from town centre to the rec reserve, implementation of the Penshurst Botanic Gardens master plan, upgrades to the barbecue units, Warren Reserve, and vouchers for green waste drop-off rateable properties. In this year's long-term financial plan, Council is spending more on asset renewal than it ever has. That is more money on all of those assets I mentioned earlier. Our peak debt during the long-term financial plan is $16.5 million, compared to a peak debt in the 24-25 long-term plan of $20.07 million. Importantly, this long-term plan demonstrates how this debt is fully repaid by the 10th year. We're getting things done, things are happening, and we're not leaving a financial legacy to others to deal with. Councillor Henry, to close the discussion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to reiterate there's a lot to feel proud about in this budget and in this long-term financial plan. There's plenty to be aware of, and there's things to monitor closely. I read on Facebook a quote that said, in regard to the budget, that we deserve better. And I'd like to comment that everyone in this room has been working towards better. That's what a budget does. It seeks to create a better livability for the people of our Shire. And I wanted to reiterate that we are also a part of the we. So there's a tendency to see us as standalone for some reason, but every single person has shown me the commitment to the Shire and to the betterment of the Shire, and I thank you greatly, particularly the new councillors, because I know it's a steep learning curve.
Councillor Manning, do you have anything to close with, being seconded?
Yeah, only just to reiterate, it's a budget and we review it constantly, and yeah, that's it.
It's Marbo. It's the vibe. We'll move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.3, Community Partnership Grants Policy. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, doing the heavy lifting tonight with this very important report. So councillors, before you as a report detailing the review that we've undertaken of our Community Partnership Grants Policy. The review ensures Council's policy remains current, relevant, effective, that it's aligning with evolving laws and industry best practice, and certainly our organisational needs. As councillors know, this grant program is very important to our community. In 24-25 year, we gave $300,000 to community organisations and people within our Shire, supporting these groups so that they could fulfil their aspirations for our community. Feedback for this review came from many sources, including post-acquittal reports that have been gained from various organisations and feedback from the recipients of these grants, as well, of course, the discussions with our councillors. There are 5 areas identified within the policy that required updating, or that we're recommending for updating. The first of these is to increase the threshold for non-matching funding grants to $3,000. So previously this was $2,500 that a community group could apply for a grant that didn't require matching funding. But we acknowledge now that with escalating costs in recent years, that it's become increasingly difficult for community groups to deliver grants for $2,500, even for some relatively simple projects, and we're recommending that that threshold increase to $3,000. Second point of change is that there are a number of items that have been added to the non-eligible list within the policy, and these are the purchase of alcohol, tobacco and vaping products, projects, activities or items relating to gambling, inflatables on council-owned land or facilities, applicants' public liability insurance or any other insurance policies. Lower priority will also be given to activities that have previously been awarded a council grant that are ongoing without an adequate sustainability plan. Applications where applicants' organisations promote and or benefit directly from electronic gaming machines or activities at a business where these machines operate. Third item for amendment of our policy is funding for council-owned facilities managed by community groups. So in the past, as councillors know, a lot of our community groups work or operate out of council facilities, and they've been ineligible for these grants. Probably the best example I can think of right now is the Friends of the Botanic Gardens, the fabulous work they do there, because the Botanic Gardens is a council asset. They've been ineligible. We plan to rectify that and make those groups eligible even where they're operating from council-owned asset. The next point for amendment is the level of public liability insurance. Previously, this has been a minimum requirement that there be $20 million of public liability insurance for these groups. This has now become prohibitively expensive for community organisations, and advice that council has received has recommended that on a case-by-case basis with a good risk analysis, we could allow a lower amount of public liability funding down to $10 million. And finally, councillors, is the fifth point is inclusion of council's fair access policy. So as you know, fair access policies and principles have been enshrined in new state government legislation, and they convey to council our ongoing commitment to ensure facilities we provide are inclusive and welcoming for women and girls. Council, the recommendation is there before you.
Move it, Councillor.
I'd like to move that the council adopt the revised community partnership grants policy.
Seconder. Councillor Barber.
Sorry.
Any questions of the CEO? Those speaking for? Councillor
Just like
Rance
to
would
say
speak to.
that I've actually been seeking through being involved in advisory committees with the Hamilton Hamilton Showgrounds and other community groups. It was very clear that there were a lot of community groups like Lions or Rotary that couldn't apply for funding for facilities that were on council, and even the PAC, the P&A couldn't apply for funding even though they were running a community organisation, a not-for-profit organisation to help provide events and economic activity for this area. So I have been very pleased that this has been resolved and they've been included in this community partnerships grant. It's very popular and it's a small amount of the budget, but it's a very popular amount of the budget, along with those earlier on community submissions that I also supported, which were lumbered in the rest of the budget. Thank you.
Any further discussion for Councillor Manning?
I just want to say that council have listened. These updates are relevant and have been based on feedback from community. And this is a program that allows community groups to take control of their own projects, which is fantastic and should continue.
Any discussion against? Further discussion for? Councillor Rainsford, anything to close?
No, that's fine. It's going to be good.
Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.4, Hamilton CBD Streetscape Project Advisory Group Terms of Reference. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the terms of reference for the Hamilton CBD Revitalisation Project Advisory Group. So a project advisory group is a committee established by council with the purpose of providing advice to council. A project advisory group has no decision-making powers, and it should be comprised of a range of stakeholders whose experience, knowledge and skills would contribute to matters on which council is seeking feedback or a decision in relation to a project. So the terms of reference outlined in this report set out the specific roles of committee members, how they would be appointed, governance, meeting and reporting requirements. So council, a recommendation is brought before you for your consideration with point 2 requiring a councillor to be nominated to chair the group. Thank you.
Mover. Councillor Manning.
I move that council, number 1, adopt the draft terms of reference for the Hamilton CBD Revitalisation Project Advisory Group. Number 2, appoint a councillor to chair the Hamilton CBD Revitalisation Project Advisory Group. Do I nominate that now?
Yeah.
And I'd like to nominate Councillor Barber.
And Councillor Barber, just to confirm you accept that.
Yes, I do,
Yep,
Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Manning.
And point 3, commence an expression of interest process to engage community members and business representatives of the group.
Seconder. Councillor Henry. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Manning to speak to the motion.
I support this motion and I have full faith that Councillor Barber will do a fantastic job chairing the community. It's about providing advice and taking the community through processes that are required for the Hamilton CBD Revitalisation Project, including closure of businesses during works, tree works and anything that the project entails. It is an advisory group and there is no decision-making power. I support it.
Any further discussion for Councillor Barber?
Yeah, thank you through you, Mr Mayor. Just like to thank Councillor Manning for nominating me to chair the committee. A lot of you know I worked for a long time in the CBD, so 20 odd years or a bit more, working in hospitality businesses. So, you know, I know the area and know the concerns some of the businesses have, and I look forward to working through with our community groups on a positive project.
Any discussion against? Further discussion for Councillor Henry?
I just wanted to reiterate that this is a good move to ensure that we get on with our much needed works in our CBD and we make them as least disruptive to our businesses as possible, particularly right now given our economic climate, and that we are able to forewarn and guard against interruptions, particularly during peak times. And I have every faith that Afton will chair this admirably, and I hope there's lots of community members that put their hand up to be a part of this committee to help us govern this, what is an important but, I guess, risky time, given that the CBD and the economic climate are challenging.
Further for, councillor Calvano, did you?
No.
No, all good. Councillor Manning, anything to close? Move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.5, Coleraine Quarry, Section 96A, Combined Planning Scheme Amendment and Planning Permit. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the combined planning scheme amendment and permit for the Coleraine Quarry. So this report seeks Council's resolution to seek ministerial authorisation to prepare and exhibit a combined planning scheme amendment and planning permit application under Section 96A of the Planning Environment Act. So as you've heard earlier through the deputation, the amendment has been requested by Rigby Brothers and Co. And seeks to facilitate the expansion of the existing Coleraine Quarry at 26 Templeton Street in Coleraine. The proposal includes the rezoning of approximately 5.6 hectares of land from low density residential zone to farming zone, and the removal of a development plan overlay Schedule 3. So concurrently, a planning permit is also sought for the use and development of the land for extractive industry purposes as part of the existing quarry operation. So the expansion is underpinned by an endorsed work plan approved by DECA, and so the amendment seeks to align the Southern Grampians planning scheme with the endorsed work plan, regulise the long-standing quarry activities and secure additional access to the hard rock resources in that area, as well as ensuring the long-term viability of the business in the town. So councillors, a recommendation has been brought for you for your consideration.
Mover, councillor Calvano. Seconder, councillor Rainsford. Questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Manning.
I know that it's, this is following ministerial authorisation, there'll be public exhibition, but as was mentioned before, there has been some community consultation since, I think, 2019. Do you have a feel of what the neighbouring sites' response is to this authorisation?
Thank you, sorry, through you, Mr Mayor. So I think the work that officers have done have, I suppose, tried to understand that, and that's why we've brought forward this recommendation that proposes that it does proceed through this, that it is, I'll say, fit for purpose in terms of where its location is in Coleraine. So I think the planning team would say that yes, it does fit within the character of the location proposed, and that's why we've put this recommendation forward. We do note that it has taken quite some time. We have been working with the applicant. There's been a variety of different hurdles they've had to get through, but we're really excited to be able to have brought this to council for consideration tonight.
Councillor Henry.
Oh, thank you. There's a 900-page dossier of support documents. Will there be a quiz? No, that's not my question. No, my question is actually the time frame expected for ministerial approval to exhibit, and then the exhibition time, and then potentially when could this proponent expect to receive approval to extend their business operations?
Thank you, through Mr Mayor. Sometimes it's a little bit unknown when you do go through these processes in terms of exact timeframes. 12 months is sort of what the team would have told me. We'd love that to be quicker, but it does
Just
go...
for exhibition?
No, sorry, for the next step of the process to occur and for the rezoning and permit to allow to occur so that they could actually start what they wanted to do. So the process itself, doesn't take long. That would be a couple of month process, but the whole process to go through, because it does come back to council, as the applicant mentioned earlier, for formal approval as well too. So it is a long process, but with the rezoning of any land and when you have a planning permit working with it. Yeah, but we are at the hands of the minister as well too, so I can't give you an exact time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Henry's been copying my homework.
Again, yeah. Any further questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Calvano to speak to the motion.
I just want to move the recommendation as the motion and as written, Mr Mayor. I don't want to speak for it, it's all clear.
Any further discussion for Councillor Henry?
Well, I just wanted to talk about the importance of supporting long-term businesses in small towns, and I think this is an important step forward in ensuring the economic viability of Coleraine.
Any discussion against? Speaking for, Councillor Barber, provided it hasn't been
Part
copied.
of it was, Mr Mayor, but through you, Mr Mayor. No, I'd just like to reiterate the same point that Councillor Henry said, that it's great to see we're supporting a small rural community. And a business has been there for a very long time. It's going to give it another life expectancy of, we hope, as Andrew said, 30 years. I also look at the fact that there's potential for further employment out in Coleraine as well. And in all honesty, I've just got to take my hat off to the amount of work. Like when you see 800 or 900 pages of information and documentation that has to be put in by the owners of the quarry in conjunction with working with, the Shire staff, that's phenomenal. Like I've obviously never had anything to do with quarries before, but I really, really congratulate everyone involved, because that's a substantial amount of work, and let's just hope that the powers to be make it go through quickly and efficiently. Thank you.
Any further discussion for? Councillor Calvano, anything to close?
I just hope the planning department, Mr. Roy Neeson, officer, gets through this with the planning minister and as quick as possible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Rainsford, anything to close? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.6, response to notice of motion 2/25, cat curfew. Director Neeson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on a response to a notice of motion from Councillor Henry at the February Council meeting around the management of cats within the Shire. So this report discusses the implementation, rationale and regulation of the cat curfew currently in play, as well as its impact on the community. The report then does also note that Council is due to commence the preparation of its domestic animal management plan 2025 to 2029, where Council could consider several enhancements or additional controls that will help address the management of cats within the Shire, and these are all detailed as part of the report. So Council, a recommendation has been brought before you for your consideration.
Mr. Mover. Councillor Henry.
Imagine if I didn't. I move that Council 1 receive this report as a response to the notice of motion from myself at the February 2025 Council meeting. 2, commence preparation of the domestic animal management plan 2025 to 2029 with community consultation focusing on strengthening domestic and feral cat controls.
Seconder. Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Henry to speak to the motion.
National cat population sits at 3.8 million pet cats, and there's feral cats in urban areas alone of over 500,000, and there's over 1.5 million feral cats in the bush. Cat occurrences in Australia. Every day cats kill mammals. 3.2 million, mostly native species in the bush, are killed. 1.2 million birds, almost all native species, and reptiles, 1.9 million, all mostly native species, and 0.25 million frogs, nearly all native species. Given our proximity to the Grampians and the Eastern Bar Bandicoot enclosure, there are areas that certainly need our protection. This motion or a potential, strengthening of our cat regulations seeks to not only regulate feral cats and the damage they can do and unsupervised pet cats, but it seeks to support cat owners to make good choices and to help them access the things that will help them make good choices, such as desexing and registration. So this motion just seeks to, protect our wonderful natural assets, as well as support owners to do the right thing.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Henry, anything to close?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge the significant work that Council already does in this space. In the last period, council actually trapped, I think it was 134 cats, and of those only 18 were registered. And it's really difficult to try and return them and rehome them, and they do an incredible job of doing both those things. I just think it's time that we support our community to work in partnership with the work that council is already doing.
Thank you. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.7, Councillor Gift Policy Review. Director Barber.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor. Section 130 of the Local Government Act 2020 requires council to adopt a councillor gift policy, which must include procedures for the maintenance of a gift register and any matters prescribed by the regulation. The councillor gift policy was last adopted by council on the 10th of February 2021. It was due for review in February 25 and no substantial changes have been made to the policy. Councillor gift policy aims to ensure transparency and the principles of good governance and accountability are practiced by councillors. The policy provides an overview of councillors' legislative responsibilities with regards to gifts, including legislative thresholds, conflicts of interest, personal interest, campaign donations and standards of conduct. The policy outlines the overall process for declining or accepting gifts, as well as the process for recording all gifts and others and offers of gifts in the register. Council, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
Mover, Councillor Calvano. Second. Oh, sorry, Councillor Calvano.
I'd like to remove the recommendation as a motion and as written, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Henry. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Calvano, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr Mayor.
Any discussion for? Against? I guess Councillor Calvano, nothing to close. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.8, Quarterly Finance Report to 31 March 2025. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Councillors, before you are the quarterly financial report for 31 March 2025. The financial report sets out the actual results compared to the budget for the first 9 months of 2024-25 financial year and contains the standard statements, namely the balance sheet, the statement of cash flow and the statement of capital works. The report also includes information on cash balances, current borrowing ratios and debtor balances. Included in the March 25 quarterly report is a summary of the key components of the financial report with the key information available for readers of the report. Narratives also accompany the statements. The comprehensive income statement result for the 9 months to the 31st of March is a surplus of 8.639 million and the forecasted result of the same period is a surplus of 9.652 million. During the March quarter there was a total revenue recognised of 5.090 million while the total expenditure for the 3 months was 11.459 million. Cash and investments held at 31st March 2025 was 7.527 million. Council, the recommendation is before you for consideration.
Is there a mover? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Move that we accept that the council receive the financial report for the quarter ended 31st of March 2025.
Seconded. Councillor Manning. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Barber, nothing to close.
No, good, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Calvano?
No, just put my hand up just to vote.
Don't be jumping the gun. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.9, Council Plan Quarterly Reporting 1 January 2025 to 31 March 2025. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Legs are getting quite a workout tonight. Council, the quarterly report, the 1st of Jan 25 to March 31 is before you. The action and task progress report for the period has been prepared to provide information regarding the performance of the organisation against the Council's annual plan. The annual plan is developed each year to assist in the delivery of the council plan objectives and demonstrate to the community the key projects that we've delivered for the year. The annual plan sets out specific actions and includes a detailed list of council's activities and initiatives for the upcoming financial year. These initiatives and projects that are undertaken over and above the normal service delivery and are intended to attain important outcomes for council and the community. Reports on the progress of the annual plan are reported to council quarterly. This allows council to read timely, relevant and measurable information about how the organisation is performing. This in turn allows the council the opportunity to raise concerns about performance in a timely manner. The annual plan reporting will also help formulate the annual report and support the reporting against the council plan next year. There are 73 actions in the report, of which 60 actions or 82% are on track, so that's 90% of the target achieved. 10 actions at 14% require monitoring between 70 and 90% target level, and 3 actions or 4% are off track, which are less than 70% of the target achieved. Councillor, I'll just add to this report, obviously we're coming to the end of this council plan and we've been out to the community developing our new council plan, which will come to council very shortly. It's good to see that so many of these actions have been completed over 4 years for the community. Council, the recommendations before you for your consideration.
Mover, Councillor Henry.
Well, I actually have a question, but I can move it. I move that council receive the action and task progress report for the 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Questions of Director Barber. Councillor Henry.
Councillor Barber, given that the 31st of March was quite some time away, could you or do you have an estimation of, particularly in regard to the 10 actions that require monitoring and the 3 actions that are off track, where are we, do you think, in terms of our progress, given that we're nearly the end of the financial year?
Councillor Henry, thank you for your question, and through you, Mr Mayor. Obviously, given the actions are across all our organisation and multiple directorates, right now I don't have exactly where they're sitting, but I just would like to reassure council that there's been a concerted effort to ensure that they are completed, simply for the statement that I said at the end of my introduction, that the council plan is coming to an end, and of course we'd like to see all those actions completed in that time. So there's been a concerted push across the organisation to see the final report has most of those.
From memory, some of them are IT based on group that we have to share.
Yeah, they are, and there will
yes,
be.
it's relying on other councils.
Correct.
Yeah.
Councillor Calvano.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just the reports that are available, are they available electronically, or are they available in hard copies, and when can you get them?
Thank you, Councillor Calvano, and through Mr Mayor. The report that you have tabled there tonight is an electronic version. So we have a project called CANS strategy that all our actions are put into, and that's how we actually report. Our officers have access to that continually, but for council it comes out, and then by virtue of that goes to the public quarterly through the council meetings.
Yeah, but is there a hard copy for the public? Through you, Mr Mayor?
Well, if a community member wanted a hard copy, they would be able to come in and get a hard copy, but they do have access to that document on our website.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any further questions of Director Barber? Councillor Henry to speak to the motion.
I guess now I'm starting to look towards the future, and I'll be really interested to see what our next 4-year plan looks like, given some of the major projects and visions of a new council on behalf of our community. So it's nice to tidy it up and finish it off, so I look forward to seeing 100%, hopefully when we get the April to June 25 report. But well done.
Discussion 4. Against? Councillor Henry, anything to close? Move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.10. Model Code of Conduct, Internal Resolution Procedure. Director Barber.
Thank you, and again through you, Mr Mayor. On June 25, 2024, the Local Government Amendment, Governance and Integrity Act 2024 received royal assent. It includes reforms aimed at strengthening leadership and dispute resolution and oversight for council. As a result, the Local Government Governance and Integrity Amendment Regulations 2024 requires council to adopt procedures for dealing with alleged breaches of the Model Code of Conduct by July 1, 2025. The internal resolution procedure must deal with allegation breaches of the Model Councillor Code of Conduct, include a conciliation process that will be conducted by the Mayor, or if the Mayor is party to the matter or is unable to perform the role, the Deputy Mayor or another person. Detail how an alleged breach is to be dealt with and what the available process may be used. Detail how councillor may initiate a request or have a matter dealt with. Detail roles and responsibilities of the parties to a matter. The role, function and duty for each person for conducting the process. Any support that council is to make available. The form and availability for record of any agreement, resolution or outcome that is being reached. Council, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
Is there a mover? Councillor Manning.
I'll move the recommendation as written.
Seconder, Councillor Calvano. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Rainsford.
Does this code of conduct and the internal resolution procedure, does that extend to council, open council meetings as well as briefings and other behaviours, situations?
Thank you for your question, Councillor, and through you, Mr Mayor. The Code of Conduct covers council for whatever their duties that they're doing while they're elected as a councillor. So it would cover all those situations, including the council members. So you're quite correct, Councillor.
So my question is, whose responsibility is it if the code of conduct's not being followed in council meetings?
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor. The responsibility would be, as the leader of our council, it would be through the Mayor.
Question, Councillor Calvano.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For gross misconduct where VCAT is involved, has VCAT got the final say? Thank you, Officer.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Calvano. Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, that statement is correct. They would have the final say.
Thank you, Officer.
Any further questions? Councillor Manning to speak to the motion.
All I have to say is that this is legislated, that we must have this, so we have to do it. And we sat through some presentations today discussing the appointment of monitors and what that means to councils and how that has happened to different councils over the state, and a big theme about councillor behaviour and how important it is, and how important it is that we follow the council code of conduct, because the community has elected us and put out their trust in us, and we must behave accordingly. So I support that we adopt this policy.
Discussion 4. Against? Councillor Manning, anything to close?
Nothing to add.
Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.11, Planning Committee meeting 28 May 2025. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the Planning Committee minutes. So this report is fairly procedural in its nature. It relates to two decisions made by the committee on 28 May 2025, which one was for the construction and display of externally illuminated major promotional signage at Gordon Street and Coleraine, and for the construction and display of a single-sided electronic sign at 7 Ballarat Road in Hamilton. So the committee resolved to refuse to grant a permit for both applications, and the reasons for refusal are outlined in the minutes. Thank you.
Have a mover. Councillor Manning.
Nothing to add, that the as written.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Rainsford. Any questions of Director Neeson? Discussion 4. Against? Councillor Manning, anything to add?
As the chair of the planning committee, both decisions were refused as described for the reasons in the minutes. That's all.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.12, Audit and Risk Committee, meeting minutes 9 May 2025. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Council, under section 53 of the Local Government Act 2020, council must establish an audit risk committee and an advisory committee to council. The audit risk committee fulfils both the statutory and consultative function. The committee provides feedback, advice and direction to council on both risk and financial matters in accordance with the committee charter. Council, we had a meeting on the 9th of May 2025, which was an extraordinary meeting that we had because one of our independent members was going overseas, and we needed to deal with the Audit and Risk Committee independent member update, which you might remember that actually came to council last month, but the delay in the Audit and Risk Committee approving the minutes has meant that they've come to meeting tonight for you to table. So we only had that item, and we used that item, that meeting also to bring in the final report for our environmental health internal audit as well. Councillors, the recommendation to note these minutes is before you for your consideration.
Further, Councillor Calvano. As written, Councillor Calvano.
I move the recommendation as a motion as written, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Calvano, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr Mayor, I think our officer said it all. Thank you.
Discussion 4, Councillor Henry.
I'd just like to commend the Audit and Risk Committee. It's actually one of the, and I say this every single time I'm sure, but it's actually one of the committees that has independent members that are very highly skilled, and they seek to mitigate risk for our organisation, both financial and in terms of OH&S, internet and other risk factors. They do in both internal and manage external auditing, and it gives me a great sense of faith that all of our actions in our organisation, all of our operations and our, I guess, governance is overseen by a committee that has great skill.
Discussion against?
A question?
Councillor Rainsford.
Just a question, does the Audit and Risk Committee review the previous item, or the one that's to do with the Code of Conduct? So do they actually review the implementation and the carrying out of the conditions of the Code of Conduct? Does anybody look at it?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Rainsford. Through you, Mr Mayor. The answer to that question would be no, that's not in the remit of the Audit and Risk Committee. That goes back to the inspector.
Further discussion 4. Councillor Calvano to close. Sorry, Councillor Calvano, anything to close?
Just in regards to the question that Councillor Rainsford asked, the Audit and Risk Committee does not, I was reinforcing, the officer does not carry forward that question that Councillor Rainsford asked. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 13, there's no notices of motion. Item 14, there's no urgent business. Item 15, Mayor, Councillors and Delegate Reports. Councillor Manning.
Okay. So I had a busy but enjoyable month in May. On Friday the 16th, I spoke at the Ida Hobbit event at the Hamilton Cinema. This event raises awareness for the discrimination of LGBTQIA+ people that they still sadly face today. And there was a great screening of Love, Simon, which I attended and enjoyed. On Wednesday the 21st to the 23rd, I attended an MAB Rural and Regional Planning Conference in San Remo. And there was many interesting speakers, and I learned a lot more about planning. There was a great speaker, in particular the CEO from the Swan Hill Rural Council, and he explained some of the terrific work that the council has been doing to create more housing in their shire. Saturday the 24th of May, I helped open the new Creator Lab in Brown Street, which is an education and workshop space funded by the Department of Education. It provides free activities and classes, and I encourage everyone to check the gallery website. Lots of children's and youth things to do there. And then following that, I attended the opening of the Hamilton Gallery Sensorium exhibition, which I have since revisited with my children, and absolutely encourage everyone to go. You can take kids there and they can touch things and they can write on the wall or their faces if they choose. And that's on until August, and it's free, so please get down and support that. Monday the 26th of May, I attended a National Sorry Day event put on by Windamara Aboriginal Corporation, and listened to Auntie Tina Wright share the story of her mother Eunice Wright. Eunice was a Gunditjmara elder of the Stolen Generation and campaigned for compensation and justice for Stolen Generation survivors in Victoria. At this event, Auntie Tina made a request to Council for a plaque memorial to honour her mother, and I look forward to seeing a proposal for that come to Council. Following this, I attended the second day of the Walk for Truth, led by Uruk Deputy Commissioner Travis Lovett. He's walking from Portland to Parliament, and he will arrive in Parliament on the day that the Uruk Justice Commission hands down their findings. Very significant event. We walked the leg from Tirrandara, an overly Tirrandara, to the Tirrandara Indigenous Protected Area in very rainy weather, but we didn't mind because we hadn't had much rain. On Tuesday the 27th, I joined Councillor Henry, Councillor Rainford, and our CEO and other council staff, and Mayor Heslin, leading the Walk for Reconciliation, which was organised by our local career education officer. Fantastic organisation. All the schools came together and all the children spoke wonderfully about their knowledge about what needs to happen to achieve progress with reconciliation. Ended at Melville Oval with presentations and a morning tea. Couple more. Wednesday the 28th, we had a planning committee meeting. Wednesday the 4th of June, we went on a great tour of the Botanical Gardens. Last Saturday, I went to a unicorn festival at Cryle Castle, and back to the gallery. And I really enjoyed the rain. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm taking
That's
a
a
week
busy
off.
few weeks. Councillor Rainsford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Okay. On the 15th of May, I went to the pre-MAV Council Forum in Melbourne, and we were across the road in the Windsor, and opposite they were deciding on the future taxation of all of our communities right across Victoria, with the upper house debate, in inverted commas, on the emergency services volunteer fund levy. So on the next day, the MAV conference was dominated by a debate and response to that levy, and how the local government was going to manage it. And I'm pleased with the way our council has been lobbying very strongly on that, in that area, and suggesting a moratorium was a very good idea. On the 28th of May, I attended the CFA protest rally back in Melbourne again, Spring Street, against that levy, and I took the slow train, which left at 7:05 from Ararat, and we didn't get there till 11:20 when the rally was finished, but we did see all of the people congregating and hanging around with their fire trucks, and certainly this region all did their job to actually make our state government listen. So well done, CFA, volunteers and members, and all of those communities helping our emergency services, including the SES, which are involved in it as well. The 21st of May, I attended the briefing, and on the 27th of May, yes, I enjoyed attending the Reconcilia event. I didn't walk very far, just from a car park across, but I thought that you've done a wonderful job on that, and I commend you for your passion and your genuine concern. It's wonderful. And every time I get an opportunity to meet with our Indigenous colleagues, I learn something more every day. So thank you for that opportunity. On the 28th of May, we had a planning committee meeting and site visits. The next day, I did a pre-planning for our final agenda of the Hamilton Showgrounds Advisory Committee. And I'd just like to thank, in particular, people that Sarah Cassidy's, who's been helping with that committee, and all the officers. We've actually finished our term. I've done a final report, and that's been circulated to all the councillors. And we'll see what the future governance and model is for interaction of councillors, community members, and the Hamilton Showgrounds, based on the new governance model, which will go out for community consultation. And the 2nd of June, yep, we did the final meeting, and with Councillor Barber appearing as well. So I've stepped down from that committee, and if it does continue, I hope that there's some new councillors involved in that. And I'll spend my time lobbying at the budget process to make sure there's some inclusion in the budget, because there's nothing this year. And I attended on 4th of June, I attended the Hamilton Business Forum at Speckled Frog, which was really interesting. And it makes you think about what we do in the CBD that actually brings the best bang for the buck, and what investment we make in our business and our CBD that actually brings the best outcome financially. Then we had a meeting before our council briefing with the Friends of the Botanic Gardens, and a tour of the gardens, and reviewed the proposed play space. And I look forward to them getting some funding in that area. That went from $1.5 million major project to seeking $20,000 from council to match the $20,000 the Friends have got, and it hasn't been included in the budget, which is unfortunate, but I think they will get some support for that down the track. I'm not a thespian, but I do get involved in the choir, and I think the Stedford's amazing, and I attended and performed with the group with Footprints Choir, and some really amazing performances from other members of the choir groups. And our grandkids visited the sensorium display, which was wonderful. They were told to be very quiet, it's not a playground. But I think that they probably made a bit of noise and enjoyed themselves, as well as being enjoying the sensory gallery experience. And I went to the National Centre for Farmer Health breakfast and the workshop just at the showgrounds yesterday. And we had a new citizenship ceremony for the first time, held in the Melville Oval Pavilion, with our Mayor Dennis Heslin amiably trying to pronounce everybody's names. Very impressed with 19, it was the maximum number. I'll let Dennis talk about that. A heads up to the community, get out onto the VicGrid website, which is looking at the transmission lines and the zones for renewable energy zones. And there's a zone that Penn sort of centres around Penshurst and occupies more of the southern area of our shire. The last session is tomorrow in Thompson Street, down the sort of the northern end. And there was one out at Penshurst today. But, so I do have concerns that this draft zone of the wind towers includes the country, the landscape between Mount Rouse and the Grampians, and these wind towers are now actually higher than some of our iconic mountains. So I hope that Penshurst was engaged there today. I was also concerned that Wind Energy Company presentation, that their comment was that there was a sort of a saturation of solar energy, which is during the day. But when I researched the period that wind towers are actually more effective, it was also during daylight hours. So what we need and to be developed and what we are getting, to me, I think might be a bit disconnected. I respect the climate change energy requirements, and it is good that the community are able to have an input, and we hope the state government is listening. So there's a workshop tomorrow which I'll go to, or an open session. And 2 reminders, vote for Dunkeld in the Victorian Tourism Awards. The voting closes on June the 27th. And also have a look at the new Hamilton Gallery design concepts, which are open for public comment until June the 20th. And if you want to comment about the funds, you can do so too. Finally, I'm still working as a veterinarian. On a serious note, I'm still working as a veterinarian, managing the challenges of helping clients caring for their pets that are often their companions, and it does include cats. I'm a partner and actively involved in managing a livestock enterprise, the budgets, and supporting my husband. And when I went to the mental health session, we were going through a drought. We've got a check-in with farmers, mental health. I decided that I could manage difficult decisions with animals. I can manage a drought, I can manage the budgets. But what stresses me is being a counsellor. When at times I can't speak about things, I can't speak without being interrupted, and I don't feel valued, and we are missing the point. We talk about inclusion, but we're not doing it. On a serious note, and this does disturb me, I can be emotional, but I'm concerned that this does your head in sometimes, and it does the community's head in at times too. Thank you.
Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I attended our Careers Expo, which was over 2 days, or 1.5 days, up at the Exhibition Centre, which was great. The first day wasn't hugely attended, just because probably the location. There was still some action there, which was great. That was a good array of people represented, which was fantastic. Lots of different organisations. One of the logging companies, I think it was involving Cube Transport, they actually had one of their training log trucks, or I don't know what you call them, things that cut down the trees and chuck on the truck, with the joysticks and the whole bit, and the computer screen, all the controls, and they had a line-up continually of about 6 or 7 school kids the next day, when we had about, I'm going to throw a rough number out there, for 450 kids turned up over various stages through the day, which was great. We had 2 hats on. Business I work with, are able sponsored a barbecue, so I went back and got a little bit of PTSD with standing there cooking sausages on a barbecue by the hundreds, which was great. The kids loved it. They grabbed a snack, went back to school, but there was a lot of positive feedback. It was really good. I'd also like to acknowledge the work that I've had with the L2P program through the Shire staff. Recently, I'm a mentor for L2P, and so was a couple of people that are able to help our people get their licences, progressing towards work, and working with the Shire L2P program and are able, we've been able to get the are able vehicles to be utilised for the L2P program, so we can take our participants in the vehicles for L2P, which frees up the L2P vehicles for the other calendar for all the other mentors, which is handy. It's really going to work well, and hopefully we'll get a few more kids with their licences. Showgrounds Committee, yes, I attended that with Councillor Rainsford. It was very good, it was positive, and we've just got to see what the governance structure comes out of that and what they feel is going to work best. It was great turnout for the King's Birthday Rally, even though the weather was inclement, but in saying that, no one really cared because we need the rain. I'd like to acknowledge the conditions that our farmers and people around the district are facing at the moment, and it's very, very challenging. Look, I've lived in this area all my life and probably don't recall seeing the bottoms of dams at the end of April and May. It's pretty ordinary. So I acknowledge that there's a lot of pressure. Everyone be kind to one another. We'll get through it. Mother Nature's a hard taskmaster to deal with, but we'll get there, and just everybody be kind, and I really do acknowledge the hard work and the the stresses that people are going through now. Here's a little bit of fun, which I've never been to before, but I've drank lots of water. I attended the water treatment plant opening. Or well, not opening, it was a tour. And to say it was an eye-opener was the least, I'd say. It was fantastic. It was really well done by One on Water. But the stuff that comes out of your water you don't realise until it's treated. That's why Bear Grylls tells you to always drink running water. If you're lost in a forest, don't drink out of a puddle. And I saw the difference as to why you don't do that. Fantastic setup, like really very professionally done. And look, they actually said, again referencing the drought conditions we've got at the moment, that it's the first time in 20 years that they've actually had to access Rocklands Reservoir to top up their water supplies. So that's a pretty big thing. Like, it's always there a contingency, but they've actually had to enact on it. Not that they were going to run out of water, but they've had to get the levels back to where they need to be, you know, considering they're feeding Tarrington out to Dunkeld and, of course, the Hamilton region. And I'd just like to finish on a positive note and just say well done to Ros Greenwood on an award. It's fantastic. She's a bit of a pillar of the community. She's been around a long time, done lots of great things, and well deserved. Thank you.
Councillor Calvano.
Oh, I'll make it quickly. 24th of May, I volunteered to work at the Gate 2 at Melville Oval. Good crowd, sold lots of raffle tickets and a lot of entries come in. They had good reports on the Melville Oval, what the work was done, the council had done, great work. So, unfortunately the Kangas didn't win, got done. They were too good for us on the day, but that's how it goes, you know. On the 2nd of June, I attended the Audit and Risk Committee, which was held in Martin Hines. Well, you'll get the minutes of that meeting coming to you soon. And on the 4th of June, I attended a meeting of the Friends of the Hamilton Botanic Gardens. The President spoke of the commitments and also what their contributions were to the gardens. And also, after that, we had a beautiful morning tea and we went around looking at the gardens, and also the Thompson fountain, the memorial fountain restoration, and we all enjoyed ourselves, I think, of the reception that we got from the Botanic Gardens Committee and Friends of the Garden. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Henry.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I too attended Audit and Risk, and Councillor Manning and I witnessed the souping up of children at the Creative Lab opening. Handfuls of lollies were definitely eaten against parental, consent. Yep. The reconciliation walk was beautiful, and I think the takeaway was that every school in our shire had participants there that showed a great understanding of the importance of reconciliation and a willingness to learn more and to move forward. I attended the Farmers Breakfast at the Centre for Farmers Health. I guess most of you know that I have a business that certainly relies on agriculture, and it's been really noted how tough farmers are doing it, and I just, again, anyone who really needs help, please go and find help, go find someone to talk to. The Stedford is amazing, well done on the organisers and the volunteers. Last night I chaired the Dunkeld Hall Committee, and I actually took a photo of all the things that they've done in the year because it was pretty cool. Because there's such a little committee, so that hall, which is, you know, run by volunteers, they have such a plethora of events, but last year they had 312 events, so that's an average of 6 per week. They had 5,500 people go through the facility, which was an increase of 24% on the year before. So it's all volunteer run, and they had everything from weddings to community events to business events to performances to festivals like Lost in Sculpture and the Dunkeld Writers Festival. So I really commend the volunteers that run that, and I too would like to congratulate Ros Greenwood. She's amazing.
Thank you. The highlight of between meetings for myself was today's citizenship ceremony, just being a small part, and such a big day for 19 of our residents who signed on. It was it was a challenge with my linguistic skills, but they were quite forgiving. So yeah, 19 welcome new members to our community. I'd also like to, just before we move into closed meeting, just to acknowledge Nick Templeton and Robin Ackland here tonight. This is your night, the budget night. This is what the night of the year you look forward to. But thank you so much for your work, and also, I guess, your freedom of your time to help, especially for new councillors, understand this process. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 16. We'll move into closed meeting, so just in a moment, but the recommendation is that the following items be considered in closed council as specified in section 66(2)(a) and referenced in section 3(1). Confidential information, A, council business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henry. Seconder, Councillor Calvano. Go to vote. Those in favour? Carried. I thank those in attendance tonight in the gallery and thank those online. We'll now move into closed meeting for a confidential report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Oh, that was a long week, sorry.
31 of just
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Ray.
See you.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you for coming.
See you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you for all your complexities of running a meeting.
Congratulations for staying the course.